Hi, welcome to Cycl'n Vancouver. My name is Steve, and this is Ride 111. Today is Wednesday, June 2nd, 2021, and it is Challenge Day. Last February, I thought I needed to add more climbing to my rides, so I decided to ride the North Shore Mountains at least once per week. My first ride was on February 27th, and I managed to ride around the hillside below the Upper Levels Hwy. My next ride crossed over the highway, and I've been pushing further and further up the mountainside ever since. As part of that, I set myself a challenge. I would ride to the top of Cypress Mountain on my 56th birthday. Unfortunately, that day is today. I say unfortunately because today is baking hot. According to the Weather Channel, it is 28 degrees Celsius or 85 degrees Fahrenheit, and no breeze whatsoever. I expect it to be hotter as the heat radiates off the road surface, and there will not be much shade. If it were not for this challenge, I would never consider doing this ride today. But I set the challenge, and I'm going to do my best to complete it. Happy birthday to me. I consumed about 1 liter of water before I stepped out the door, and I have another 1.5 liters for the ride. Hopefully that will suffice. The direct route from Ambleside Park to Cypress Ski Lodge is approximately 21 kilometers. By car, that takes about 25 minutes. I will take a detour through the British properties, but the distance should be about the same. The Cypress Ski Lodge is about 915 meters above sea level. I'm going to break this ride into 4 parts. Level 1 is from the beach up to the observation area. Level 2 is from there up to the picnic area. Level 3 is from the picnic area up to the next lollipop turn. And level 4 is the final climb. After that, it's a nice, easy ride to the lodge. As a young kid back in the early 70s, I used to push my bike up 12th to school. I was never able to ride this hill. That car was a bad omen. I should have paid it more attention, turned around and gone home. I was watching an episode of The Bicycle Diaries recently where Leonard Lee asked the immortal question, why do you ride? Leonard offered up 3 common responses: for commuting, for fun, and for fitness. Now, I don't commute by bike, and when I consider riding for fun, I think of the casual rider that gets on his bike to meet up with friends for an impromptu ride to a bar or a patio. In that sense, I do not ride for fun. And while fitness is clearly a benefit of my riding, I consider it to be a collateral benefit. So, why do I ride? I've often thought about that, but I have never been able to come up with a satisfactory answer to that question. I am naturally lazy and often wait till the last moment before rushing out the door before I lose the sun. I don't like pain or suffering, even though I endure lots of it riding. I'm really not that excited about cardio exercise, and I've never taken to running or swimming. I once tried getting a stationary bike to sit in front of the TV. That worked out fine until I would get tired, and then I would just get off the bike and sit on the couch. I really couldn't say why I ride until this past year. Then it suddenly started making sense. But before I answer the question, let me give you a little back history. When I was young, I loved to ski. In high school in the early 80s, I played basketball and volleyball and kept myself physically active. I could do pretty much anything I wanted to do. Though people warned me that things would change as I got older, I paid them no mind, because that was way off in the future. In the fall of '91, I decided I wanted to be a lawyer, so off to college I went. I knew getting into law school would be difficult, so I focused all of my time and energy on studying. I got into law school in 1995 at the age of 30. In '97, a friend from law school invited me to go skiing with her up at Whistler. Of course, I jumped at that. I love skiing, but hadn't been in years. I was super excited. However, it turned out to be a disaster. My quads burned so badly I could only ski about 100 meters at a time before needing to stop for a rest. After an hour or so of that, I gave up and went and sat in Monk's Bar and Grill and waited for my friend. That was the worst skiing experience of my life. I was dying by the time I got here, and I stopped for a nice rest and lots of water. In spring 2000, I was working in an office downtown Vancouver. One of my coworkers was organizing a skydiving event, and I really wanted to participate. But there was a weight limit, and I was 15 pounds on the wrong side. So I went to my local gym that night and did what many people wanting to lose weight did. I jumped on a cardio machine and started working out. I was back there the next night, and the night after that, and after that. I quickly dropped about 10 pounds, which I later realized was all water, and that was it. I never met the weight limit and never did go skydiving. But I kept at the gym and, in time, started adding weights. My legs got stronger, and it wasn't long before I started maxing out all the machines. In 2005, I bought a night ski pass for Cypress Mountain. I would sneak out of the office at 5, and I was on the mountain and ready to ski by 6. I had never forgotten my last ski experience, but this time was very different. I could actually attack the runs and would ski for 3 hours straight. In 2006, I went to Peru with a couple of friends and hiked the Inca Trail to Machu Picchu. That was the hardest thing I'd ever done and swore never to do that again. 18 months later, I was back to do it again, this time with my new girlfriend Andrea. 2 years later, she and I went to Tanzania and climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. The following year, we went dog sledding in Whitehorse and rafting and hiking in the Grand Canyon. I saw that shade and headed there. It's really hot and I'm absolutely soaked. In September 2014, we stopped in Washington, D.C. for a weekend where we rented a couple of bikes and rode around the Ellipse and the Monument area. We absolutely loved it, and when we got back to Vancouver, we went out and bought bikes. I thought it might actually help me lose some weight. Now, I hadn't ridden a bike since the early 80s, so of course, I figured I needed to have a carbon fiber frame racing bike. As silly as that might seem, it turned out to be a smart choice. I started off with one lap around the Stanley Park seawall, and a year later, I completed the Whistler Grandfondo, 122 kilometers from Stanley Park to downtown Whistler, in 6 hours and 36 minutes. That hurt. In 2016, I rode it again, this time in 6 hours and 15 minutes. 3 months later, I weighed 305 pounds. Even though I was riding and weight training frequently, the Lindor chocolate truffles from the factory outlet at YVR apparently were not a good diet choice. I accidentally stumbled upon intermittent fasting and managed to finally start dropping weight. In July 2019, I took on the Penticton grandfondo, but had to withdraw after 110 kilometers due to intense cramping in both legs. 6 days later, I completed my first century, the Fraser Valley grandfondo. And 6 weeks after that, my world changed when I carelessly crashed and broke my right collarbone. I was off the bike for 5 months until February 10th, 2020. When I got back onto the bike for what I call ride number 1, I expected some loss of ability. I was shocked to discover that I could barely ride around Stanley Park Seawall and Falls Creek. Prior to my crash, I would have considered that a warm-up ride. I was essentially back to where I was in February 2015. But as frustrated as I was, I didn't quit riding. It was very humbling, but I just got out and struggled to get back to my former glory. I sat at the observation area for a while, and I really want to thank the fellow who refilled my 2 water bottles. I would have been in serious trouble without his help. So, with that history, it is now clear to me that I ride because of the never-ending war against the greatest enemy of mankind, entropy. Things fall apart. Now, I do not particularly fear death. I fear not being physically able to do what I want to do. And I have never forgotten that 96 ski experience. I had been warned about entropy when I was young, but I thought they meant that would occur when I got old, not in my 30s. And after struggling for years to build muscle and aerobic ability, I lost it in the 5 months post-crash.
Good, you?
Good. A little warm.
Yeah.
I love the thrill of speed and the danger of riding. I like being able to see areas from a different perspective as I ride through. I like the collateral fitness benefit. While other people run marathons or Ironman or Spartan races as their fight against entropy, I ride. And even though we will all lose this fight, I still fight. And cycling is my choice for battle. That is the only answer that makes any sense to me as to why I ride.
Today, huh? It does that every time I come up here.
I finished the third stage and realized I couldn't continue. The incline at the start of the fourth stage is maybe 3%, and I was struggling on that. As much as I wanted to push on, I was physically exhausted and I was almost out of water. I knew what lay around the bend, and no matter how much I might will it, I would not be able to complete my challenge. I made the choice to ride down the hill and return another day. That turned out to be a wise decision. I disappointed I failed to complete my challenge? Yes, of course. I'd worked hard towards the challenge, and I was confident I had done enough training to complete it. I didn't count on this being the hottest day of the year, and I think the heat really affected me. But, of course, it doesn't really matter. I didn't lose anything by failing. I honestly know that I gave everything I had that day to complete the challenge, and I was beaten by the mountain and the heat. It's not like losing at the tables in Vegas. I still have the gains from all that training. And whether I completed the challenge or not, I'd be back on the bike in a few days for another ride. Entropy doesn't stop, so neither can I. My left leg started cramping on the bridge. I had to stop and massage it out and finish the last bit of water I had. I decided to take the causeway home. It's bumpy, but quick and direct.